I'm Aniello Piro, and there's a somewhat familiar name for Broncos country that I think they should take a look at making a trade for.
The Denver Broncos may Gallup, but this offseason, they could waddle.
Dude, I can't do better than that. I'm Sayre Bedinger.
I'm Nick Ferguson, and it's time to eat because free agency is right around the corner, and I'm hungry.
Let's break it down on today's Locked On Broncos Squad Show.
From the South Stands, it's the Broncos Squad. Everything Denver Broncos every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Mile High City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Gear up and squad up. The Broncos Squad Show starts now.
Yes, it is your Locked On Broncos Squad Show right here on the Locked On Broncos YouTube channel, as well as the audio feed. Happy Monday to everybody in Broncos country. I know it's also President's Day, so if you're working, that's unfortunate. But if you're at home and enjoying the day, congratulations. It's a much-deserved day off here on this Monday, February the 16th, guys. And today's episode of your Locked On Broncos Squad Show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I'm not going to lie, as soon as I'm done with the show, I'm going to go take a look at some Nuggets odds after I heard about that promotion. But we've got the full squad here today. AP, Cody Roark, Sayre Bedinger, Nick Ferguson. What's up, boys? How we doing?
What's good, guys?
Fantastic. First
I gotta
weekend
stop
without
going
football.
after Cody in the show intro because he's always got some pun and some play on words that's gonna make me break character. So I don't know. We might have to switch that up.
Yeah,
That was a good one.
I just, sometimes random thought, like if you were to ask me to market anything for players, I certainly could. You give me a player name, you give me a team tie. Oh, I could certainly do it. That's my world, man. But Sayre, I think that's honestly like the first time I've seen you like actually break character, like with that. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
That was a 10-10.
it's bound to happen.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Cody's, locked in today, or should I say locked on? Usually he's in a goofy mood. Like, look at him.
Oh,
He's
brother, we still have
focused,
time. We still have time.
This is true, but usually like, we start the show and it's like, you're laughing.
Right.
And giggling.
Let me hear your first ad read there, buddy, and we'll see how you do
Yeah,
it.
of course. It's like clockwork. It's like clockwork. So we'll have some fun. Yeah, man. Everyone take care of business on Valentine's Day. It was a good weekend, I think. Yeah.
My wife is out of town, so no, I just hung out and I
that's
cleaned the
right.
house.
Ooh.
So happy Valentine's Day to me. Though I did say, I took up Sayre's offer. He told me about the C's candy, make your own custom box. I did it. So there we go. Look at that.
Look at this.
Did your girlfriend get you that?
No, my mom did, believe it or not. I walked in because I had to go to an eye doctor appointment, and I was up north at the house, and my mom's like, here, I got you these. And I was like, look at that. She listens to the show.
I love it.
Oh, good
Good
stuff.
for you guys. Good for you guys.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Probably not going to be good for my stomach. And, I did go to the gym this morning, so I'll probably give away that progress with those chocolate bars later today. But
Moderation, brother. Come on now.
This is true. It is dark chocolate, which I know is better than milk chocolate when it comes to that stuff. Okay, let's have some fun on the program today. I personally really enjoyed our last episode, kind of taking a look at in-house free agents and kind of debating who should they retain, who can they afford to cut loose. And that will kind of apply the same sort of script and template to guys that are outside of the organization. And we're not going to just look at just free agents. We can also talk about trade partners. I think Cody and I are on a similar wavelength with one of the trades that Denver maybe should take a look at making here this offseason. So we'll have some fun with that. And then, we kind of get to play GM here a little bit and put ourselves inside the mind of George Payton. And like, if we were George, what would we do? What would we prioritize? And we'll kind of break that down throughout the course of the show. So as always, the live audience last week was awesome with just kind of some engagement, some ideas, some proposals. So if you are watching live on YouTube, feel free to let us know your thoughts as we go through these conversations of players that you'd like to see the Broncos maybe add via free agency or potentially trade for with another team. But we'll do the whiteboard dynamic here again. Why don't we start with, to kind of set the table, what position is the biggest position of need for this Denver Broncos team? You could go group, if you want to go specifics with like different skill positions, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, however you want to phrase it. You can feel free and kind of go with it that way, fellas. And of course, here in the chat, let us know your thoughts. But we'll start there. The position group of most importance for the Denver Broncos. I'm very curious to see what you guys come up with. I have a feeling we might get a good mix of opinions on this one. We shall see.
You know what drove me nuts about you guys last week is you guys didn't tell me my camera was mirrored. So every time I was holding up the dang whiteboard, it was reading backwards.
I thought it looked fine.
Oh, I mean, on my end, really? On my end, I had to just make sure that my setting was toggled, but not going to make that same mistake today.
All right. Well, yeah, you look good so far. So we'll figure it out. I see we got some comments here. Running back, tight end, linebacker, number 3 from Darian, running back as well. Let's go ahead and you want to flip these bad boys? Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Boom. Oh,
okay.
Very interesting.
Hold on.
Nick's putting the finishing touches on.
Come on now, Ferg.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
So a good mix there. So I'm going straight up linebacker. Cody's going running back. Sayre's a combination of running back and linebacker. And Nick taking a look at the wide receiver position. I mean, why don't we start with you again, my man? You're the one kind of outlier with this conversation. And I think wide receiver is obviously a very important position for Denver to prioritize. But why do you think that is the most important?
Well, because the wide receivers don't just run routes. Guess what else they do, guys? They block. And we're talking about running backs. How do you kind of get your running backs extra yards? You have to have guys outside on the perimeter who can freaking block. When LaJordan Humphrey came back, the whole idea was that, well, he was here before. He's been with Sean Payton. He knows how to block. He's a big guy. But what did we see? I mean, when he was here with the Denver Broncos before, he didn't block well. You bring him back, and he still doesn't block well. And when you look at the Broncos and trying to move the ball down the field, they need their wide receivers to do that. And just think, what did the Broncos do this offseason? Right after they lost to the New England Patriots, they started cutting bait. They cut their wide receiver coach. Kerry Colbert was the fall guy for what the wide receivers were incapable of doing. And not to mention, and this is not me just going out after them, but it's just using my football eyes. So you need guys who can separate. You need guys who, once they run their routes down the field and you got a 12-yard dig, guess what? If the ball hasn't come to you, you look back at the quarterback. Oh, by the way, you got a quarterback who scrambles, right? So guess what you have to do? You have to now run that second route because the dig route is now taken away. Now try to get open. And if you have guys who can now separate and beat man coverage, but also separate down the field, you make life easier because now what the defense has to do, because now you're a threat. Now you create spacing. And you know what you do by creating that spacing, fellas? Open up the running lanes for the running backs that both you and I are hoping that the Broncos acquire.
Yeah, and let's say some names in particular for wide receiver and these other position groups for a little bit later on in the program. Let's talk about the positions as a whole. Sayre, any rebuttal, thoughts, opinions?
I like what he's saying. I think my question to follow up is, are you thinking the Broncos, based on your assessment there, do they need to overhaul the wide receiver position, or do they need like a dude at the top? Because kind of what I'm picking up from what you're putting down is, sounds like the receivers as a whole aren't doing their jobs. And so I don't know. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, Nick, but I'm asking the question. Do you think they need to overhaul that group? Like, do you think they need to add a different top dog? Like, what's your thought based on what you just said?
Yeah, you need to overhaul the wide receiver room. I know that sounds absurd, but the way you overhaul the wide receiver room it's really simple. You bring in competition. Right? That's what you did. I'm not saying go get rid of the Broncos wide receivers. That's not what I'm saying. You need to bring someone in that's going to elevate that room and make everyone take their game to a whole nother level, because Courtland Sutton was the top dog in that room. And Courtland Sutton wasn't used as well as I figured that he should, because as a big body wide receiver, those back shoulder fades, whatever, that's the world that he lives in. Those 50-50 balls, I mean, that's the world that he lives in, and we didn't really see a lot of it, but we know, I mean, a couple of years ago, Courtland Sutton had a knee injury, so he's not the fastest guy on the roster. The fastest guy on the roster, you may say, is Troy Franklin, and then Troy Franklin still has his issues as far as catching the ball and confidence, but the one guy who you know can catch the ball and deep ball didn't really get that many targets, not until late in the season, And that was Marvin freaking Mims. So you need to bring someone else in there that's going to challenge every single guy in the room. And Cody, you know this as an ex-player, that's the one way that a coach can make everyone look around the room and go, man, they brought that dude in? Mm-hmm. Wow, we really got to pep it up. And that's how you make the competition in the room that much better. You got to bring someone in who's a dog. And I got 2 guys, and we'll talk about it later, who I think would definitely do that.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I mean, I think anytime you add competition to the room, it's gonna raise the level of play, from everybody else. The challenge here that I think you run into here is, obviously they're not going to cut a player like Troy Franklin. They're not going to cut a player like Pat Bryant. They're not even going to cut Marvin Mims here. But what I believe is that the Broncos have a usage issue for so many guys, not just wide receiver, tight end as well. I mean, Denver, according to True Media, they were in 11 personnel 50% of the time last season offensively. And for those that don't know what 11 personnel is, it's 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers. Well, their next personnel usage was 12 personnel, which was 15.1%, right? So once again, is when we're talking about, and this was an issue all year long, the mass substitutions by Sean Payton, certain guys like Sean wants his wide receivers not to, Cortland's not just going to be an X. He's going to be, a big slot. He's going to have to play Z from time to time. The issue with that is when you're rotating all these different guys in almost every other play, I also feel like it's hard to establish rhythm in that regard too. I mean, you mentioned it. Like, we hardly saw anything from Marvin Mims. And I think we can all argue to say outside of Cortland, Marvin is the best receiver on this team in terms of clutch factor. He catches on pretty much everything. Whereas, Cortland, his large volume of targets, he had 8 drops that led the team, tied with Evan Ingram with 8 drops. RJ Harvey had 7. Denver had, I think, they led the league in 30-plus drops overall. Sean said one of the biggest issues, and I'm sure the run blocking thing was one of it as well for the perimeter stuff. But the biggest issue is guys catching like this, not catching like this, with the noose, with the, we call it the tightrope here. That obviously has an emphasis that Sean Payton, has obviously made that change for, obviously moving on from Kiri Colbert. But you and I mean, Nick, we saw these guys working on everything in practice, right? You can see them do it in practice, but they got to do it in the games. I think the injuries that we saw pop up, late in the season at wide receiver, some soft tissue stuff. We talk about, obviously, the injuries that, you get there with Pat Bryant and the concussions. Those are things that are a little worrisome, I think, going forward. So for me, I think you add to this room without necessarily taking someone away, but it puts everybody on notice. It may lead to more reduced snaps for some players. I do think you add another guy here, a dog, opposite of Cortland Sutton, I think, this offseason. I can agree with that logic. I think that's huge. But I have my biggest positional need right now, not necessarily need, but like my priority should be running back here for Denver. Because, look, you're bringing RJ Harvey back 100%, okay? Jaleel McLaughlin, I believe, is an exclusive rights free agent or a restricted free agent, one or the other. Tyler Bidet is also set to become a free agent as well. You have a couple of guys on your practice squad. You got Cody Schrader, and then you got Deuce Vaughn. I don't envision those guys really playing a role in the regular season, but really you got RJ Harvey, right? RJ, I'm excited about RJ. I think a lot of people were down on, he's just not an effective runner. Part of that, in my opinion, scheme is the run game scheme there. RJ is a guy that I think would benefit from just hitting the hole and getting north-south quickly, right? But you have to boost this room around RJ. He's got a unique skill set. You need a guy that could come in and be a primary ball carrier going forward. If you don't have that, then I do worry about that. I think RJ's not necessarily, and we got it in the comment section. People are saying he's not an RB1. I don't think he was drafted to be an RB1. I don't think that was the case. I think he was drafted to be a weapon, just to be an all-around weapon. But you do need an RB1. And I think that's what the Broncos have to go out and they have to get that this offseason.
Yeah, I think running back is probably offensively at least the thinnest position where the Broncos are kind of at right now. Like, they've got a lot of bodies in the wide receiver room. It's just how quality are those guys, right? Whereas to your point, Cody, like, you've got RJ Harvey and then what else essentially, right? I mean, we'll see if they bring back a J.K. Dobbins. So I was personally between
2 guys. You just need 2 guys. You don't need 3 guys getting different touches on the field. That was the problem. Sayre and I went into length on this. That's the problem I had is you're getting JK in the game. Okay, well, then now you're going in with RJ, but now you're bringing in Tyler Bidet. Like, stop that. Like, these guys can't get hot if you just keep rotating them out every other player. It's like RJ would have a big run or JK would have a big run, and then the next play, bang, they're off the field, new guys in, and it's just like, no, keep the dang train rolling. That was my frustration.
JK said as much, I believe, at some point during the regular season that he feels like he's a running back that gets better as the game goes along, right? You get a little bit more calloused, you build a little bit of momentum as a runner, and away you go. So, yeah, we'll see. I think running back, we'll have a pretty good discussion there about some options for Denver. Sayre, I believe you and I both had linebacker to a certain extent as well. I'll give my thoughts here real quick, and then I'll dish it to you. I think part of the reason I went linebacker is it's obviously the thinnest position they're at on defense as a whole. And knowing that we have questions about wide receiver, running back, and tight end offensively for Denver, if the Broncos are able to sew up that linebacking position, you're going to be able to win games 13-10 consistently. And so I think there's just a lot more tonnage and overhaul that needs to happen on the offense to get the offense to get close to the level at which the defense is playing. Whereas I'm looking at one position group on defense that if you take care of that, you're going to have one of, if not the best defense in the NFL again, which should help you lead your team to wins again.
And I think that's what you have to focus on if you're the front office, right? Is, okay, we have a top 2, top 3 defense in the NFL. How do we maintain that going forward? Well, you've got to have dogs at the linebacker position, especially in Vance Joseph's defense. And we've talked about this previously, but those linebackers are going to be expected to do a lot of different things: attacking the line of scrimmage, dropping back in coverage, disguising blitzes, knowing the defense like the back of your hand. So that's where the catch-22 of free agency comes into play is, well, do you bring in 2 new guys to upgrade the talent at this position and weigh that against the idea of having 2 new guys operating the defense, somebody new with the green dot on his helmet, really just kind of pushing all the buttons at the control center of everything? Or do you give that to a safety, or whatever the case may be? So I think there's going to be options, but I think that it's non-negotiable. The talent has to be upgraded. I think that when you look at the needs of this team, there's 2 positions right now that are the low-hanging fruit because you don't have starters. It's running back and linebacker, right? Your starters are projected free agents, and I think your top-end talent is lacking at those positions more than any other spot on the roster. So that's where I came up with that is just the fact that they don't have – they have Dre Greenlaw, they have Drew Sanders. Are those guys going to be your starters going into the season? I don't think so. I don't even know if Dre Greenlaw is going to be on the team in 3 weeks. So I'm interested to find out what their strategy is. I want to hear from, see if we can pick up any of the breadcrumbs or the tea leaves from Sean and George at the combine of, how they would evaluate last year's roster and how they would evaluate the newest signings. And what did they make of Dre Greenlaw's comments about the defense being like learning Spanish? And I want to hear all those types of things because I think we'll be able to pick up on what is their strategy. And there are so many, as we're going to discuss on today's show, there's so many names out there in free agency at the Broncos positions of need, other than wide receiver, that I think they would be, it's roster malpractice if you just run it back with the group that they had last year.
Yeah.
Sayre, let me jump in here for a second, because here's the reason why I didn't put linebacker as one of my top priority. Is it a priority? Yes. And it's for everything you just said, because you have 3 guys potentially between Strenard, Singleton, and Greenlaw, right, that can either be on this roster or off this roster. If you were to go out and just revamp that whole linebacker room, you put yourself in a hole. Just like you said, you got a guy who has the green dot on your helmet, right? And you know what each one of those guys bring to the party. So having that consistency and continuity is vital and really important. Drew Sanders, we don't know what the hell he is at this point, right? We know he had a lot of athleticism coming out of college, and you can put him at the Mike linebacker, you can put him on the edge as an edge rusher, but we haven't seen it on this particular level. So I'm thinking the smart thing to do is to say, okay, well, of the 3 linebackers we have, which of the 2 we want to bring back? Because it's about consistency, continuity, and you pay for production. For me, you bring back Alex Singleton and Justin Strenard. You look to find another guy in free agency to bring in, because just like Dre Greenlaw said, when he came here to learn a defense, it was speaking Spanish to him. That's how it translated. So whatever guy you bring in, veteran or rookie, it's going to be the same thing. So for me, it's the whole Beyonce philosophy. You got to upgrade me, dog. And you got to bring someone in the room to kind of make that room a lot better, but try to retain some of your vital pieces. And then those other guys, if you beat them out in camp, they beat them out. But you just can't scrap the whole linebacker group, start over from scratch. And that's going to be a problem for the Broncos on the second level if that's their philosophy.
I think it's a pretty good thought just because of the level of complexities that kind of comes with this defense as a whole, that you're going to want some familiarity at that position group one way or the other. So we'll obviously see what Denver decides to do here at the linebacking position. But why don't we hit a break? And when we come back, let's take a look at some of the offensive targets here for the Denver Broncos. It could be trade candidates, it could be free agents. So get those whiteboards ready and get those comments ready as well in the YouTube chat. We'll start with wide receiver because I think that was a pretty good conversation there with Nick and company here. What wide receivers do we think make the most sense for the Denver Broncos? We'll hit on running back, we'll hit on tight end as well, and maybe some other positions when we come back right here on your Locked On Broncos Squad Show. All right, you guys, real quick, let me tell you about our friends over at Zocdoc. Finding a doctor you actually like can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. Sure, you want someone who's in network, nearby, and has availability, but you also want a doctor who listens and makes you feel comfortable and explains things clearly. That kind of doctor exists, and finding them is easy with Zocdoc. Zocdoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love without all of the hassle. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states, covering over 200 specialties from primary care and dentistry to dermatology and eye care. I'll admit it, I've definitely put off doctor appointments longer than I should between work, life, and everything else. It's easy to delay. Zocdoc makes the process super simple. You can search by specialty or symptoms and actually build a care team that works for you. You can also read verified patient reviews so you feel confident choosing a doctor you'll actually like. And whether you want to go in person or do a video visit, Zocdoc makes it easy either way. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to Zocdoc.com/LockedOnNFL to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's Zocdoc, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. Zocdoc.com/LockedOnNFL. Thank you to Zocdoc for sponsoring this message. Make sure to check them out and let them know that Locked On Broncos sent you. All right, welcome on back into the program. Aniello Piro, Cody Roark, Sayre, Bedinger, and Nick Ferguson. We are your Locked On Broncos Squad Show. Let's dive right on into it, fellas. We'll start with wide receiver. Again, trades are on the table. Free agents are on the table. Let's see if we get a mix of names here or if we all kind of come up with the same name. We'll start with wide receiver. Who is a player or players you'd like to see the Denver Broncos target this offseason?
Are we focused on just offense, defense, or
wide receiver?
Oh, wide receiver. Yeah.
We'll go position by position.
I'll start. I have a list. Wait.
Oh my goodness. That's a big list, buddy.
Yeah.
He does have a list.
Okay. Yeah. I got a list here. Okay.
Run your list down.
You just made the list.
Let's run it down. I put a little key at the bottom of my list here where we've got the happy face, we've got the meh face, and then we've got the angry face. The happy face is the players like we're talking about Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, AJ Brown, Drake London, Chris Olave, George Pickens, true difference makers at the position, like guys who could come in. And I've said it this way to Cody, but you're like, you just tell this guy, get open on Hut, and this guy's going to go dominate a football game. A guy that could have been added to the roster for the AFC Championship and caught 10 passes because he's just a freaking top-tier wide receiver. Now, in the middle of this list, I have Alec Pierce. The reason for that is because, well, I could see the vision with that, right? You want to get the most out of a guy who's maybe been in a crowded room. He's got the deep ball ability. Maybe he could be even better on a second contract, like a Emmanuel Sanders type of situation. But you're taking a big leap of faith there. There's no guarantee with a guy like that. And then on my sad face list, I have Michael Pittman Jr. No offense to him. He's just redundant with Courtland Sutton. Then you've got Mike Evans, who's an older version of Courtland Sutton and redundant. And then you've got Jordan Addison, who's an absolute nutcase. So I think if you're trying to make that type of move, that's not what I want to hear. So that's my list, guys. I think that it has to be a top tier wide receiver type of pickup. A guy, like I said, get open on Hut, and you feel like that guy's going to come in and bring it every single week.
That's the standard. That should be the standard for them. I like the way you categorized these guys too, as the meh, and the no way, Jose. I'm with you on that. On mine, I wrote Jalen Waddle. And the reason I say that now is because the fact that the Miami Dolphins are having a dumpster fire sale right now. They're cutting everybody. They cut Bradley Chubb. They released Tyreek Hill. We'll see what they do with Tua Tagovailoa. But why not at this point? They're going to have to scrape everything, rebuild, unless they plan on keeping Jalen Waddle there. I don't know how he would certainly feel about that, considering where they're at with this change. He probably wants to go win somewhere. So you know what? The best place is Denver. But also, Sayre, you and I have had several episodes of Locked On Broncos where I'm happy. I'm happy with the idea of trading for a guy like A.J. Brown or trading for a guy like George Pickens or now Jalen Waddle. Like if Denver had to trade for 3 players, it'd be either of those 3. Nick, I see you shaking your head. What's up with that? Come on, man.
Well, I shook my head to George Pickens.
Why?
Because Pickens is a sometime player. For me, I need a guy that plays all the time. And Pickens doesn't play all the time. We saw that last season with the Dallas Cowboys, right? So that's why I'm not going to go there. And we're trying to.
That's because it's Dallas, though, you know.
Just remember
Pittsburgh too.
Yes, Pittsburgh too as well, right? He gets upset, just like those prima donna receivers. I'm not going to run my route. Like I can't remember what was the game that they were playing, and he wasn't even trying to help Dak Prescott out.
Eagles.
Routes.
I think it was the Eagles.
What the hell are you doing?
The Lions.
You're trying to get a contract, and that's what you're doing? Nah, we can't have that. Remember, it's the Beyonce philosophy this offseason. You got to upgrade me. That's where we are. So here's what I'm looking at, fellas. Bam. Right here. You got Debo Samuel.
Oh, no.
Let me tell you why. Because the head coach is a gadget guy. How many times did we see last season him, since he's been here, trying to move Marvin Mims around and make him a running back and get him the ball? Because that's what the Broncos did to substitute for their run game. We're going to throw swing routes, right? Let's be totally honest. That's what it was. So why not give it to the guy who has a PhD in those types of players, and a guy like Debo Samuel? And you could use him as a wide receiver and a de facto running back, right? So you get the best of both worlds, and you only pay him 1 check. And oh, by the way, all you have to do is just say, you know what, we're going to bring you in, sign you on a 2-year deal. If it doesn't work out in the first year, you skate and you move past it, right? But now you get explosion, right? Now you get a threat. Now you get Bo Nix on the edge running the ball. And oh, by the way, he can throw it back to Debo. Debo can actually run it, or Debo can actually catch it, right? So those are 2 things. And then Alex Pierce, guess what? He's going to help your offense out because now he's going to give you another vertical threat. And oh, by the way, his speed is going to help Riley Moss in coverage in practice. So once again, we doubling down. We get a twofer, right? We get a twofer. You get a wide receiver who can stretch the field. You can add to Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims, and also he makes your defense that much better.
Yeah, Debo's just not a guy that I'm sold on at this point of his career, you know, and he's also a guy that historically has struggled with drops himself. He's been a drop guy. I don't think Debo is, and I think Darian's pointing out in the comments, I don't think Debo's the same player he was 3 years ago in San Fran.
You don't need him to be. Right?
We already have problems with wide receiver usage as well with Sean. Like, come on, Ferg,
he does fit the scheme that I think Sean wants to run.
They weren't interested in him last year.
Yeah, why didn't they want him last year? They could have. He wanted to come to Denver last year. They are asking him at the Super Bowl, like, hey, who do you see as the up and coming team in the NFL right now? And he's like, the Broncos. And like there was reports that behind the scenes, like he's campaigning to get to Denver, and they've been all over these former 49ers. You know, that's what I wonder is like, why not last year when he was available? Was it the finances? Was it, I mean, it wasn't like it cost a lot draft compensation to get him. So I don't know. Yeah, the Tyreek, he fits into the Jordan Addison category. Psychopaths who, you know, off the field. Yeah. Not a chance. No way. He'll go back to Kansas City. They're trying to get into the DeLorean. All the Kansas City Chiefs are missing right now is Doc and a DeLorean and maybe Michael J. Fox appearance at some point, and they're going to try to go back in time to win another championship.
Let me ask you guys, would you rather have Debo here with the Denver Broncos? Because we all know sometimes we kind of go back on decisions that we made because they didn't look right at the time. But would you rather have Debo with the Denver Broncos, or would you rather have Debo with the Kansas City Chiefs? Which one?
It wouldn't bother me if he was with Kansas City, honestly.
Well, trust me, it should bother you because and between Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, they're gonna find a way to get that dude some catches. And I know you talked about him not having some drops. We don't need you. We can hand the ball off to you, dog. We can hand it off to you. Now, just like certain corners, when they start losing their speed, they move to safety. So for him, so now you say, okay, well, we don't want to put you in that situation. We can come up with a dynamic scheme to put you in the backfield to use you just like how Shanahan used.
He hated that though, if I recall.
Do you still want to play?
Where's his bread buttered? Yeah.
Yeah, but still, I don't know. I just don't see him being a great fit here. But I think it is debate. I think it's a good debate. I think it's a great topic. I don't know. To me, it's not a needle mover. It's not like, in my opinion, it's not doing anything to take the pressure off of Court. It's not adding a true number one opposite of Court. I think they need to add a number one next to Court.
You still can do that, Cody. That's what you have to draft for, because remember, we're just trying to plug and play and build a team, right? And then just kind of expand the offense within itself. Because if you look at the offense and you look at all the other 31 teams, right? Do this exercise. You look at you say, well, who's my playmakers, right? And what guy on this team that you say, well, they'll be able to start somewhere else. Start by doing that. And that'll tell you who your playmakers are. You need playmakers, guys who are threats. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, do you see them like if they were to sign a wide receiver, I don't see them drafting one.
Why not?
Because they already have a wide receiver room. They're not going to carry more on the 53.
Competition, Cody.
I get it.
Who are they cutting though?
Who's getting cut? No one's cutting Marvin Mims.
Wait. Hold on.
Cutting Pat.
Whoa.
For Troy.
Listen, that's how this thing works. No one has a job that's written in pen.
No, yeah.
That's why you have drafts and free agency, because you're trying to acquire talent. So that means that once we get to training camp, if you don't put your best game forward, guess what? You get the pink slip.
I get it. I just have such a hard time seeing Denver moving on from any of the guys that they have now.
Come on.
We didn't think they would cut Tim Patrick when they did.
I thought we were supposed to be GMs.
I get it, man. We have a difference of opinion though on this one, at least.
Yeah.
That's okay.
You're thinking too emotionally.
No, not at all. I just think I don't think the issue is the room. I think it's just the fact that they need another guy. So while these other younger guys are developing, that's the thing, is these younger guys are developing.
But is it not fair to say that this is like a make or break year for Troy Franklin?
Yes.
I don't think it's a make or break.
I mean, we're going into what, year 3 now? Like,
yeah, he rose substantially in his second year.
And I don't think I saw him in the last 6 or 7 games of the season. Like, he had a pretty good little run there in the middle of the year. Like, point being is there, because I agree with both of you. I don't see any cut casualties in the wide receiver room, that at least without forcing them. But I also think it's like you need to see more out of Troy. Marvin, I think, is safe, and we all believe that Marvin can be more effective than he is. But like, if you don't get more juice out of that, right, you start having these conversations of like,
Sean's got to use him.
I agree, but I don't know. I think it's interesting. Again, no one thought they were going to cut Tim Patrick when they did.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
you know, it could have.
Sean's got a preference though.
Nobody thought they were going to trade Vele. I think that
right, exactly.
There's merit to the idea to expecting the unexpected for sure. But I think the situation here is like, okay, we need to see what is the big move this offseason, because that will dictate who stays and who goes. Because we haven't even talked about the idea that if they add a premier wide receiver, that could mean that Cortland Sutton gets traded. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a possibility. True. And all this is like, they may say, we have faith that Troy is going to take that jump and we're going to move on from Cortland.
I'm piss off their quarterback in the process by doing that.
Yeah, which that's the thing too. Is like, okay, you're playing this roster gymnastics, you're playing musical chairs, you're thinking about, okay, the similar situation. The Bradley Chubb thing is a really good example of what we're talking about right now, because how many players in that locker room made decisions like Draymond Jones made a long-term decision based on that trade? Like that was the final straw that broke the camel's back. He's like, I'm out of here. So you have these emotional attachments to your teammates and you want roster continuity until these guys all have to collectively see like, man, it wasn't working in this way. So the pitch either has to be from your coaching staff and Davis Webb and whoever is coaching the receivers to say, this offense has to include Cortland Sutton, or this offense has to include Troy Franklin to work. And Bo Nix just got to go out there and throw passes and earn himself a $300+ million contract. Like that's his job. It's not to worry about, his friends, I guess, but it is cutthroat at this point in time with Super Bowl Eric Decker, he didn't stick around for Super Bowl 50. They let him go, and that was true. That was vibes. Like Eric Decker was vibes, like him, Demarius, Welker, all these guys, and they weren't all around. It was Emmanuel Sanders. So I just think the alternatives are tough to see now because we don't know exactly what move they're going to make. But and that locker room, I don't think it's as fragile as it seems to a lot of the fan base, but I think there's ways that you can upgrade the talent and get everybody on board with the vision.
Sayre, put up your list again, Sayre. Put up your list of wide receivers.
I erased it. I'm sorry.
Oh. So, okay.
What do you? Okay.
My whole point was that you put up a good, bad, and the ugly version of wide receivers. And you did that for a reason, because you yourself was not really confident in the wide receiver group that we have. And that's what teams need to do. When you don't make it to the playoffs, or you get to where the Broncos made it to and you don't cross the finish line, you have to make some tough decisions. My former coach, Mike Shanahan, once told me, man, to be in those positions as a head coach or a GM position, you have to eliminate emotions. Because when you have to let go of a Nick Ferguson or a Rod Smith or Ed McCaffrey, you have to be able to make that decision, because it is the business of football, not football business, the business of football. And your job is to make the team better. So all the guys who were on this roster last year in that wide receiver room, they don't get a gift certificate saying, okay, well, you get a golden ticket and you go from the start to the finish in 2026. This is not how it works. When we think about Pat Bryant, when Pat Bryant came in here, his whole thing was, when I asked him when he was drafted about blocking on the perimeter, he said, no block, no rock. And he was a young wide receiver who was showing a lot of promise, even more promise than Troy Franklin, into the concussions. And this is what you got to think about. Well, we like him as a route runner. He was great catching passes. What's his availability going to be? True. So you got to bring other guys in the room. If you don't, you're going to fall short. And I'm telling you right now, this wide receiver group, and it's no disrespect to any of the guys in the room, they know what this is. You got to bring in competition to compete with those guys and say, well, you've been here for 3 years. You've been here for 9 years. That's not good enough anymore. And that's got to be the mindset.
Mm-hmm. No, it's good thoughts. It's good thoughts. And it's interesting to see. I think wide receiver, right? It's a big position. It's a game-changing position. It'll be interesting to see how Denver tries to address that throughout the course of the offseason, whether it's via the draft, free agency, or trade. Okay, let's hit a quick break. When we come back, let's continue along with the offensive conversation. Let's go running back and then tight end. We'll kind of we'll jumbo those two things up. So some running back targets, some tight end targets. What do we want to see the Broncos do there? And then we'll break it down here when we come back on your Locked On Broncos Squad Show. All right, you guys, real quick, let me tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered in for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. I love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win a championship or grab a conference title. It adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can your pick cash in, but it could also send you to the finals. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Be sure to check out our friends over at FanDuel and let them know that Locked On Broncos sent you. All right, welcome on back into the program. Aniello Piro, Cody Roark, Sayre, Bedinger, and Nick Ferguson. We are your Locked On Broncos Squad Show. If you're on YouTube, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. It really helps us out here on the channel. Okay, gentlemen, great conversation there on the wide receiver room. Let's shift over to running back. And it's interesting, right? Because J.K. Dobbins, I don't think he'll be on any of our lists personally. I think I'm okay if they bring back J.K. Dobbins, but if you got him ready here, curious to see who you guys come up with for the names at running back.
Yeah,
ready?
Do a reveal, yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. Ooh, so far I'm the only one with this name.
I'll finish this list.
There we go. Okay, so all three of you guys have Breece Hall. I got Tyler Algier, and I'll save those thoughts for a little bit. Why don't we start with Breece Hall? Cody, talk to me about him.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big dynamic back. He is a true RB1 in the sense, what the Broncos have been missing, right? And I think you pair him really well alongside of an RJ Harvey, especially as Sean Payton has expressed, maybe looking at some more two-back stuff this year. It's interesting enough that we talked about personnel earlier. True Media had them at 50%, 11, 15.1% and 12 personnel, but he also had them, I think, at like 4.5% and 22 personnel, which is 2 running backs, 2 tight ends. And I think you pair Breece with his explosive ability. He's got great vision. I did a film breakdown on it for all the everydayers out there in the Everydayer Club. He's patient. He knows how to make something out of nothing quite a bit. And the fact that he thrived behind such a disgustingly awful New York Jets offense, to me, it's like, all right, what can this guy do with a better system around him, so to speak? And not to mention, he's a reliable pass catcher out of the backfield. Only had 1 drop on 48 total targets last season, 36 catches out of the backfield. But his average consistency across the board, even though in his rookie year he suffered a major injury, he's bounced back from that to still maintain a 4.5 yard per carry average per season. He is an instant game changer to what the Broncos need, and he's built of a similar stature of a Kenneth Walker, 5'11", 215 pounds. Inside, outside run game is there for him. That's why I got Breece Hall on my list.
Anything different from you, Nick and Sayre, or is it kind of more the same when it comes to Breece Hall?
Nah, I mean, I like the explosion from Breece Hall. Just unfortunate for him, he was playing with the New York Jets, and they don't have a tight end. They don't have wide receivers, so you can stack the box 8 or 9 men and kind of take him away. But if you put him in this offense, there's a multitude of different things that you can do. But I'll still go back to this, gentlemen. No matter what you do or who you bring in at the running back position, like Cody said earlier, if you don't have guns that you stick to and you stay committed to one particular guy or on a particular possession and you continue to switch guys out, you make it really difficult for that guy. But you still need to have your wide receivers who can block on the perimeter, because if they can't sustain those blocks, I don't care if you had Roger Craig, his lead blocker was Tom Rathman. It's not going to change anything. But I still like Breece Hall and what he can actually do. The other guy is what is Cody showing? This is
Breece Hall. He was a Lamborghini in a trailer park.
That's a Bugatti, brother.
Bugatti. Yeah, no, Bugatti.
Yes, but yes, you're absolutely right. So if you take Breece Hall and you put him in this offense, it changes. Remember, I think it was about 3-4 years ago, even when Justin Simmons was here. Remember how much trouble they had with Breece Hall, right?
65-yard touchdown.
That's right. So he is a hell of a running back, but he would be a great addition to the running back room.
And in 2023, remember, I mean, the Broncos, when they faced the Jets, and this was the Hackett game, what a joke. Makes me want to puke. Anyways, they do a good job in the first half of containing Breece Hall. What does he do in the second half? First play, 70-yard touchdown.
Yep.
Man, Sean Payton has seen what Breece Hall can do, and they sold out last year in overseas in London to try to stop him. They did a really good job of that, but man, Sean knows exactly what that guy could bring to the table. I would be shocked if they don't have strong interest in him.
Can I toss out another name that I don't think has really been on anyone's radar, but might be because of some of the recent news? Is Devon Achane attainable for Miami right now?
No.
We were talking about Jalen Waddle, but if they go full fire sale mode, I mean, Achane could be another interesting prospect. Now, I know you can just sign Breece Hall with no draft compensation attached to it. Obviously, you'd have to trade for Achane, but I believe he's going into the final year of his deal, his rookie deal as well. Achane would be a pretty nice fit, I think, too.
They just signed Joe Barry as their run game coordinator. There's no way they're going to let Achane go. Yeah, at least this year.
But I mean, what's the point? Like, but isn't it the same argument of like, why would you keep Jalen Waddle if you're tearing it down?
Yeah, but you don't want to tear I mean, you could tear down a lot, and they certainly have to tear a lot. They have a huge obstacle in front of them now with obviously Tua Tagovailoa, but for them, I think it's like, hey, we have to scrap this, but what do we need in order to get by in the meantime? You have to have a good running back. You get rid of Achane, man, Achane's going to go off somewhere else. Like, watch him get paired up in Buffalo alongside James Cook, and watch that just be something that we have to see. I don't want that to happen, but he's a guy that if he leaves, wherever he goes, he's going to be explosive. Though I hate the fact that he changed his name because we used to call him Achane, and now it's Achane. So,
no, just a thought.
To that point, though, I mean, he is a free agent next offseason, so he has only 1 year left on his deal. Same situation with Bijan Robinson. Same situation with Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs. A lot of free agents in 2027 that you would look at and you would say, well, I don't really want to trade for a running back. And I would say that I personally wouldn't want to trade for a running back unless you're getting like, if you can get somebody who's top tier for a reasonable price, like if you're not talking about giving up a first round pick and then some for a really good running back, then I might be open to that idea. But here's the list that I came up with right here. Okay. You got to read I'm really exposing myself with my handwriting here. But
bro, you got good handwriting. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know, dude. I don't know about that. That's
I like
the
that. I like that list.
I can read it.
Yeah, I had Rico Dowell on mine too as well. So I like that list.
Yeah. I think there's names out there. And I think what I did here is I attached some of these names. Like if you sign Algier in free agency, played 20% of the snaps last year for the Falcons. I think that has to come with the caveat that, hey, we're drafting somebody to supplement the depth. Like we're putting our faith in some of these guys to say, you're going to be running back 1. RJ Harvey is going to be running back 2. You guys are splitting duties. We're going to keep you guys both fresh. And the third guy is going to be somebody who is the secret weapon for whenever one of those two guys gets injured, because I don't think you can go into this offseason. I could get on board with the strategy that says, hey, we're going to bring back J.K. Dobbins, but it's going to come along with a top 100 pick. Or we're going to give Rachaad White a chance to do what he couldn't do before Bucky Irving took his job. But he's not just going to get handed our job in Denver without competition, like Nick was talking about earlier, from a top 100 pick. The trade for Montgomery, as some have suggested, an option. Rico Dowdle, I mean, are you going to give him the opportunity to do what in Denver, what he wasn't really doing in Carolina either? I mean, they have 2 or 3 backs there as well. So you got to pair a lot of these signing options with a pick. But if either Breece Hall or Travis Etienne actually hits free agency and the franchise tag number is not really going to prevent the Jets or Jaguars from keeping those guys around at $14.2 million, if one of those guys actually hits free agency, it needs to be an all-out blitz from the Denver Broncos. Come check out our training facility. We'll send you virtual renderings of the work environment you're going to be looking at. We're going to talk to your agent, blah, blah, blah. Yes, and Nick said it right there. I mean, upgrade big time.
I think the question is, do they go kind of full court press on a pursuit of a Breece Hall type beat? If they assuming they do hit free agency, it's good that you bring up the franchise tag number, because that could definitely play a role into this. But I also think, going back to your list, Sayre, there's a bevy of running backs out there. Like, even if they go with like an Algier or Rachaad White, like you can sign those guys to a 2-year deal, and then to your point, reevaluate your running back room when you get to next season with a Jahmyr Gibbs of the world. I mean, I think he'd get franchise.
He ain't going nowhere.
But there's going to be more and more coming. Talking Devon Achane, some of these other guys as well. So maybe it is, in a way, if you lose out or you don't get a Travis Etienne or a Breece Hall, you kind of slap a Band-Aid on an open wound, for lack of a better phrase, and get an Algier and get a Rachaad White, and then kind of reevaluate and reassess as we get towards the conclusion of next season as well.
But I think they draft a guy regardless.
I think so too. Here's the question I would ask for an offense that we're sitting here saying, hey, we got a new OC, Davis Webb. He may call plays. We don't know for sure. We're going to throw a running back out there who hasn't been a starter for 3 years in Tyler Algier. Like, that's a leap of faith that you're taking. And that's part of what makes free agency fun, right? Is, hey, you signed Emmanuel Sanders away from the Steelers. He didn't really do much there. He signed for pennies on the dollar in Denver, and he becomes an instant Pro Bowler. I think those stories, though, are much less frequent than the ones that you're like, hey, we shouldn't have paid Jerick McKinnon as much money as we probably did, back in free agency, or we shouldn't have paid this running back such an exorbitant amount because he wasn't a good fit here. We just were trying to fill a need. If you're talking about slapping a Band-Aid, then I think you start to circle back around to the idea that J.K. Dobbins makes the most sense, plus a high draft pick. And I know you back yourself into a corner, but if you are talking about let's put a Band-Aid on it, we like next year's outlook better, bring back Dobbins, draft somebody you like again, and then roll the dice.
Interesting.
I'm not opposed to that.
I think running back is the most interesting room of the bunch this offseason.
Jaleel McLaughlin's also a restricted free agent this year as well. I didn't feel like he got a great opportunity, though I understand people view like some of the limitations he has.
Squad for how long?
He was on the practice squad.
Or he was not elevated for game day, excuse me.
Yeah, he was just inactive for a while. And it's like, why was he inactive when the reality, no disrespect to Tyler Bidet. I do not see whatever Sean Payton and them saw in Bidet in terms of his role.
Well, they saw him as just being kind of a Dave Meggett throwback, Bill Parcells third down back, but they didn't really use him that well in that way. And when they did bring him in, he didn't really catch the ball too well. I mean, I just think that my lasting memory was the Jarrett Stidham turnover in the Patriots game, where you have Tyler Bidet going from the right side to the left side. The crease is right up inside of Garrett Bowles. He runs right into Garrett Bowles, and Jarrett Stidham is trying to throw the ball away, and it ends up being a turnover for the Patriots. And that play, amongst other things, helped catapult them to the Super Bowl. So it comes back to decision making, and a lot of these guys, we've already seen them in action. You already know what they can and can't do. So it's time to upgrade the roster once again, and that means that you're going to have to part ways with guys, man. To make an omelet, man, you got to crack some damn eggs.
Wait.
That's a good one.
That's how you make an almond? Is by cracking
an
eggs?
Omelet.
Oh, I thought he said an almond.
What are you talking about?
Everyone heard it but you. I don't know.
Almond. Omelet and almond sound very similar, but yeah, I get it.
There's eggs. There's eggs and almonds.
How do you get almond milk? Do you go and milk an almond somewhere, dude? My goodness.
How do you make olive oil, bro?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
you got some olives.
Yeah, you got to smash them. You got to step on them like you smash on grapes to make wine.
You know what?
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. All right, let's hit our final break. When we come back, let's do tight end to kind of round out the offseason show. I thought we were going to be able to do both offense and defense in this show. Let's just save defense for its own
Friday.
Yeah,
we'll do
good Friday
content.
Linebacker, cornerback, right? We can have some fun conversations with that. So I'll hit a quick break. We'll come back. We'll do wish list tight ends for the Denver Broncos right here on your Locked On Broncos Squad Show.
If I had.
Oh, yeah. TurboTax. All right, you guys. Tax season does not have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every single deduction that you could get. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. Again, just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. That is something you have to be aware of. Just filed by February the 28th. So you got, a little while to go here. It is February 16th right now. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Just visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. That's a pretty good special from our friends over at TurboTax. So make sure to check them out and let them know that Locked On Broncos sent you. All right, welcome on back in. Winding down here on the squad show. The chat has been incredible today. Appreciate each and every one of you out there. And if you are watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe button. Really helps us out here as we're building it up. And okay, let's end with tight end. No pun intended there. Good conversation on receiver and running back. This is where I'm curious because there's a couple of interesting names in the tight end market that I think Denver can go towards. We can flash them if we've got them here, fellas. Let's see where we're going at here for tight end. Okay. See Nick is a ball knower. TJ Hawkinson. Okay. Cody's got a joke.
Ball knower. I had all the ones that Nick had.
Yeah, well, he agreed with me more than he had Goddard number 1. That's why I'm saying that. Let's hold yours up one more time, Cody. I think all 4 of those are really solid options. I think Njoku obviously kind of bidding his farewell to the Cleveland Browns last week on social media is a good one.
Anybody should bid farewell to that place. Yeah,
Kate Otton's another interesting name. I wonder where they go here.
Could you trade for a Bills tight end?
Good.
A Dawson
Maybe.
Knox.
Wow, no trades, Cody. No trades.
There are a couple trade names we'll talk about though, but let's get into the conversation here.
Yeah. So why don't we start with Njoku, Cody? Talk to me.
Look, I don't think you'd be bringing in David Njoku to be a tight end 1, so to speak. I mean, really? You could. I mean, let's take a look at the numbers last year for the Broncos tight end room. It makes me sick. It makes me want to puke in terms of snap percentage. Earlier, once again, going back to personnel, 50% of the time, Denver was in 11 personnel. You know who had the most snaps at the tight end position over everybody else? It was Adam Troutman at 57%. He played 650-something snaps last year. Evan Ingram, 480-something. He played 42%, which was a career low. You're telling me in 11 personnel primarily, you're going to rely on Adam Troutman a lot more? He was a check down option. Like that, to me, it is a Sean Payton scheme play calling problem more so than it is a talent problem. When your tight end 1 has the most snaps but only has 20 catches on the season, I have a problem with that. That is a coaching issue there. But like for David Njoku, look, he's an older guy bystander. He's been in the NFL quite a bit of time. He is instantly, in my opinion, a great red zone threat, a great third down threat for you to throw to. You don't need to bring him in to be this guy who's going to catch 100-something passes. That's not a realistic expectation. But man, I think you can make every catch he has worthwhile, efficient, and you pair him up alongside Evan Ingram. I like that. But the coaches have to change their approach with this position, though.
Alongside Evan Ingram, you think there's a world where they have an Njoku and an Ingram on the same roster?
I think so. Absolutely. 2 different skill sets. Njoku's not going to be an elite route runner.
And so what? You move on from Troutman then in that sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a free agent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Troutman, for your time here. You were awesome in the time that we had you. But it's time to, as Nick would say, upgrade me.
Yeah. I like that. Njoku would be second on my list personally. Nick, let's talk a little Dallas Goddard here. I just think he's maybe the most robust option on the market right now.
Yeah, when I look at Dallas Goddard's game, man, and his time with Philadelphia Eagles, he is very versatile. When you look at him, you don't think as though he's a burner. He may not have like that top end speed, but the one thing you know about him, man, you can put him in positions and he's going to pay dividends. Well, the Broncos have seen it themselves to a point almost where, Jalen Hurts almost found Dallas Goddard for a touchdown to help the Philadelphia Eagles win the game against the Denver Broncos. Didn't happen, but I think think about versatility. Evan Ingram was brought here to be the guy. Everyone talked about the Joker because that's what Sean Payton tossed out there, right? And we saw, once Evan Ingram was assigned, we saw the gifts or GIFs, whatever the hell the kids call it, he put out there as far as, right? We saw that, but we didn't really see it on the field. Dallas Goddard gives you a guy that you can put in the core. He can be an inline guy. He can be a guy that you open up because now what we're talking about is versatility. And if, like Cody said, one of the second-rated personnel groups that the Broncos were in on a high percentage was, in fact, 12 personnel. Could you imagine putting Goddard in that hip wing formation, flexing out Ingram? Now a defense got to figure, okay, but what are we going to do? Are we going to be in our base package or are we going into our sub package? Either way, now you can both run and pass out of those formations. And now let's just call Evan Ingram what he is. He's not a tight end. He's a big wide receiver. And we just talked about wide receiver. That would mean that you're going to have Evan Ingram on the field more than maybe some of the wide receivers. My thing is, can you create spacing for the run game, and can you stretch the field? That's the way I look at it.
Sayre, let me ask you a question. Who is the tight end from Iowa that's coming out this year? Because anytime you can draft from Iowa, the tight end position, you're usually going to get a good player. Is there anybody that is coming out this year?
Yeah, I mean, there's always guys coming out from Iowa, but I think their tight ends are all future draft players. I honestly, I don't watch as much Hawkeyes now as I previously have. So if it's not a draft eligible guy this year, I don't 100% know, but I know that they have guys that are in, progress that made plays in the bowl game and stuff. But
so why not trade for a former Hawkeye?
Yeah, give me the Hawkeyes, man. Give me the Hawkeyes. Here's the thing, too. Like, the tight end coach for the Broncos, Austin King, was the OC at Dayton when Adam Troutman was an All-American in college. And so he's had him forever. He's been with Adam Troutman. So, once again, we get into this discussion with linebackers, and I know it's a different role. You're communicating different things, but there's that element of the trust factor, the familiarity. Can you actually move on from that familiarity? I know Austin King, the tight end coach, also has connection to Cole Kmet, he's been added to my list. Cole Kmet, he was coached by, not directly by Austin King, but he was with the Chicago Bears staff back in 2022. Cole Kmet was in his third season in the NFL. So the ties that bind are often very, very much in play. And I think for the point of this list right here, this is an expansive list. This is a long list of guys. This is a viable options list of trades and free agent signings. The point is if the Broncos fail, it's only because they didn't play the game. That's the only way to fail in this situation is to not get in the fray. That was the same situation, though, that they failed last year in the draft, which was so good at tight end, and they didn't end up with anybody besides Caleb Lohner in the 7th round, who barely played 59 snaps or whatever it was in college. So I think the only way to fail this offseason at tight end is to just run it back or not play the game. And so to me, there's just too many. You couldn't tell me really a bad option right now in free agency, from Kyle Pitts all the way down to whoever it might be. We're looking at this list. Charlie Kolar, I think, would be an upgrade. Daniel Bellinger, probably an upgrade. He played pretty darn good against the Broncos too, which means a lot to Sean Payton. Chigo Okonkwo, Isaiah Likely. There's so many different guys I think could be massive upgrades, to keep in theme with Nate, with what Nick is saying, that really take this offense to the next level and bring that pass catching element to the inline position.
Is there any interest in the Kyle Pitts dynamic?
Very similar to Evan Ingram.
Yeah. Younger, though.
Yeah.
Maybe more upside, too.
Yeah, but the one thing that you have to kind of keep in mind, it's similar to Evan Ingram, and last season you didn't get a lot of blocking. Once again, I go back to these basic fundamentals. You didn't get a lot of that from the wide receiver position, and you definitely didn't get a consistent dose of that from the tight end position. So you don't want to have two of those guys on your roster. You can survive one. You can't survive with two of those guys, because those are mirror image guys, talking Evan Ingram and Kyle Pitts. And I like Kyle Pitts from a pass catching standpoint, but like Evan Ingram, they don't block well.
It was so bad to one point they had to bring in 41-year-old Mercedes Lewis.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just think about that.
Should have drafted.
In hindsight, I think instead of the 20th overall pick, I would have found a way to trade out of that. They had interest in trading up for Colston Loveland. Look, you don't know how a guy's going to do, but man, Loveland, what he did in Chicago down the stretch and even in the playoffs, that kid is special.
Oh, yeah.
Denver needs a guy like that.
100%.
Dallas Goedert.
Yeah. Well, no, good conversation, fellas. I mean, we'll see what they do at tight end, wide receiver, and running back. And on Friday's episode, we'll take a look here at the defense. That should be fun as well. So good stuff today, as always. But any closing thoughts before we get out of here, fellas?
I had the worst bowl of cereal of my life today.
What'd you have?
The Catalina Crunch Cinnamon Toast one.
It's bad?
It was bad, but you know what? It redeemed because we had such a great show.
Yeah. Okay, wow.
I'm here all week.
Bridge. Great bridge. Oh, love it, love it, love it. All right, cool. Well, that is going to do it for us on today's Lockdown Broncos Squad Show. Y'all are the best. On your way out the door, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. That way you guys don't miss anything here on the channel. And we'll be back again on Friday. But for Cody Roark, Sayre, Bedinger, and Nick Ferguson, I am Aniello Piro signing off. Talk to you guys later this week.